Koei is not normally associated with games in poor taste, so I suppose it took a kind of
Courage?
courage, yes, to release Operation Europe, Path to Victory.
Courage is beautiful. I'm all choked up.
Well, maybe courage isn't quite the word we're looking for, but at any rate, Koei has marched into the arena of war games in poor taste, presumably without intention to do so.
I just realized something.
What?
IE is only one CD-ROM. We can't possibly tell our audience everything that's bad about this game with current storage technology.
Well, you know more about it than I do. I got a note from my doctor so I wouldn't have to play more than the first scenario. You had the stamina to put the whole thing through its paces. I shudder with admiration for your stomach of steel.
Just pay attention then and jump in when you have a point that preceded your medical leave.
You think I'm a coward.
This is not the time for this. We have a game to warn our viewers about.
Fair enough.
We'll start with a simple nuts and bolts. Operation Europe is a war game that presents 6 of the more pedestrian and predictable scenarios of World War II. The Battle of the Bulge, for instance, and the Nazi invasion of France.
Rommel's campaign in North Africa.
Yep, nothing you've not seen before.
The game begins with a nice touch. You choose your commanders from a list, including some real historical bigwigs like Patton. Unlike the real Patton, however, you can toggle the stats until you get what you like.
Yep, I had good fun with this part. It required careful thinking, and I had only the cartoonish art to annoy me at this point. But of course, those were the days of wine and roses, relatively speaking.
Sigh. Before the innocence was gone.
Sold as a war game, judged as a war game. The first and biggest problem with Operation Europe was style. I'm rarely offended by anything, but this game managed to do it.
Too true. Little cartoon Hitlers.
Yep, you pick a scenario, and once you've chosen your game options, immediately you're treated to sounds and music more reminiscent of Kubert than a serious treatment of World War II. Take a listen to this.
The cartoon music nicely complements the cartoony graphics. Hasn't anybody at Koei thought about trying to capture the atmosphere of the genre?
And while we're on the graphics, note the blinding 4-color look and grainy texture.
Not very warlike, is it?
Nope, and normally the use of such bouncy primaries is intended for clarity, but the graphics still manage to be muddy and have a kind of Hanna-Barbera does Rommel look to them.
Yabba dabba doo.
Okay, let's pretend for a second that Operation Europe has a dramatic, moving score reminiscent of a serious treatment of war. Now we'll pretend that the graphics are sharp, sober, and of appropriate colors. How about gameplay? How about strategy? Now, in terms of strategic options, Operation Europe is better than the irritating, muddy, unfriendly interface would suggest. Underneath the trashy exterior beats the heart of an actual war game.
It beats weakly, but it beats.
This game is fairly abstract, a bit more than I like, but the general gist is there. The game works in both strategic and tactical mode, and you can move units either individually or as an entire division. That was a nice step saver and appreciated.
If only the little cartoon Hitlers and Donkey Kong sounds weren't there to offend.
Well, that's not entirely true. There's some major troubles with gameplay, too. I was just trying to be nice for a second or two. You know, give the audience a break, that sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
More nice stuff for a second. Operation Europe gave me landmines and cargo drops to play with. You can even send Special Forces units to try to assassinate enemy commanders.
Provided that the program likes the idea. If it doesn't, the game calls you stupid and won't let you try.
Back to the part about tactical mode. If you like, each battle can be fought out here on the tactical screen, where you can control your friendly units down to the last tank. This is all fine and dandy, but it takes forever.
Too true. Kajillions of exchanges are required to resolve even a small conflict, and the sound effects here are even more insulting than when the scenario begins. If you can imagine such a thing.
Hey, they don't have to. They can hear it.
Cool.
And the game has a truckload of other little features to offer, and plenty of displays and so on. But no real effort seems to have gone into making any of it friendly or easy to deal with.
Complexity-wise, this is for hardcores only.
But style and approach-wise, this is for Super Mario game lovers only.
So, we've got a passable strategy and war game buried under a troublesome interface with a light, bouncy style that is downright offensive.
Sound and music from The Legend of Zelda School of Production, Nazis so cute that Himmler would hug them, and possibly the most uninspired selection of scenarios in the last 5 years. And perhaps more importantly, it just ain't fun.
Well, it's obvious. Go right out and buy it.
Get 2. They're small.
They make great gifts for the whole family.
You can't afford not to own one.
Note the sarcasm. We aren't sure exactly who Koei thought they'd be selling Operation Europe to, but we're sure of one thing.
It ain't us.